Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
What's Mac?
Beautiful sunny day.
Well, it's a beautiful sunny day. We'll take it, man. As long as it's not snowing, we'll take it. All
Let's not
right,
talk about
let's
here, but
get let's get going. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Ask the Professional series brought to you by the Black Business Professionals Association, the BBPA, as we seek to support our community and our business, particularly as we wrestle with our new societal norm. I'm your host, Anton James, a marketing and strategy consultant and a host and moderator. Today, as part of the BBPA's Black History Month celebration, we wish to share with the community the stories of four notable Black leaders. These individuals have had tremendous impact on our society, and their success served as a blueprint on how we may also obtain success. In an environment where the media is often filled with negative portrayals and depictions of Black individuals, it is so refreshing to see organizations such as ours who act as a counterbalance and showcase the positive and uplifting contributions of Blacks in diverse industry sectors. While featuring Black professionals in our diverse sectors is commonplace for the BBPA, today is particularly special. As part of the Black History Month celebration, we are celebrating some of the leaders and trailblazers in their respective industries. Specifically, we are joined today by the winners of the 2020, some of the 2020 Harry Jerome Awards. For those that do not know, the Harry Jerome Awards is an awards and scholarship gala hosted by the BBPA, which recognizes emerging and established industry leaders within the Black community. So, without further delay, I'm proud to introduce you to today's panel. First, our special guest is Trevor Massey, winner of the Lifetime Achievement Award. Trevor spent over 30 years at Centennial College, and upon retiring as a registrar, he pursued a management consulting for local and international post-secondary institutions, including Ontario Tech University, University of Technology in Jamaica, the Government of Romania, and Colleges of Ontario. Today, he serves as the chair of the Life Leadership Institute. Their signature leadership program, the Signature Leadership by Design program provides leadership and career development opportunities for Black youth across the GTA. Among awards he's received the Prime Minister Medal of Appreciation for services to Jamaica and the diaspora and a BBPA Lifetime Achievement Award. We have Trevor Massey. Also, we have Tanya Sinclair, winner of the Leadership Award. Tanya is the Chief People Officer at Artscape. Tanya has over 20 years of human resource expertise and a passion for diversity, inclusion, and mental health in the workplace. Tanya has served on diverse community, police, and academic boards. Tanya has a master's degree in interdisciplinary studies and is the founder of the Black HR Professionals of Canada. Additionally, she has garnered awards such as Ontario Distinguished HR Professional Award from the Human Resources Professional Association and is also a recipient of the BBPA Harry Jerome Award. Also, we have Mr. Lyric Bent. Lyric Bent is best known for his roles in the hit Canadian series Rocky Blue and the extremely successful Saw horror franchise. His performance in the miniseries The Book of Negroes, one of my personal favorites, earned him a 2016 Canadian Award nomination for Best Performance in a Dramatic Series. Bent appeared as the male lead in Spike Lee's Netflix series She's Gotta Have It, in Tyler Perry's produces features film Acrimony, Acrimony opposite Taraji Henson, and also as Anna Paquin's love interest in Showtime's first season of The Affair. Slated to release in 2021, Bent will be appearing in the OWN dramatic series Delilah and in the HBO Max pilot Verbatim. Again, we Lyric Bent. And finally, we have Cheryl Kerr. Jamaican-born Cheryl Kerr leads Ontario's only Black, female-owned and operated full-service disability management and wellness company, MedX Health Services, catering to a diverse client base. A philanthropist, a community advocate, she is the 2020 recipient of the BBPA Harry Jerome Awards Business Award and part of the 100 Accomplished Canadian Women honoree. Ms. Kerr was recognized by the RBC Champions of Women Entrepreneur in 2006 and also received National African American Insurance Association Awards in 2007. Everybody, thank you very much. This is our panel discussion today. So let's dive directly into the discussions. So before we get into it, let me give you some quick, brief insights. For those that want to ask questions, you have two options. As we're going to go through, this is going to be a communication times. We're going to have a conversation. You can either raise your hand or in the bottom of your screen, you're going to have a chat function. And at that point, you can type your questions in and we can sit down there and raise your hands for the panelists. Okay? With that, let's jump directly into it. Panelists, please unmute your mics as I ask your questions. We want to get some feedback. Now, we know you all as leaders in your respective realms, but I'd be interested to hear, I'm sure it wasn't always great. Tell us about a pivotal moment in your career when you wanted to give up and what caused you to keep going. And I'll start off with Mr. Trevor Massey.
Thank you very much, Anchan. I have to tell you this. There hasn't been in my life a moment that I wanted to give up.
Okay.
So that you're sort of leading the witness here.
Okay.
Giving up is not something one really wants to do if one aspires to succeed. Sure, there are moments when life becomes difficult, when the challenges are major, but giving up is never the option one looks for. It's like backing out. When there's a fight to be had, you show up. When there's a victory to be won, you figure out how to go about it. But in our personal lives, if we're in the business of giving up, it doesn't serve us well, and it doesn't serve our families well, and it doesn't serve our community well. So I like to think that when things are bad, that motivates you to even do better. The challenges that you face, the hills that you have to climb, you strategize as to how to climb them. And if you take that mindset, that positive mindset, that you really need not despair, give up, but you can battle on and you can find a good solution and a good resolution, then it eventually works that way. So for me, yes, life has been filled with hills and valleys, sorrows, woes, and joys, but never in my life have I really thought it's time to give up. Life is much too enjoyable and there's too much to do and too much to enjoy. And each of us is so valuable in our own way that giving up is never the option we should look to.
Fair enough. Mr. Lick, how about you?
I would like to say that I agree with everything Trevor just said. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
But my absolute truth is there have been so many times when I wanted to give up and I just didn't know how to give up. And that was my I think key to success, if you will, because I'm in an industry that I know nothing about. I'm not second generation, third generation. I am the first of my peoples to be in this game and I don't know anything about it. And there were times when it made no sense to me. And giving up was the only option for me in terms of my mind and what I was trying to do. It's just something wouldn't allow me to give up. And I didn't know how to just step away from it. Because when I tried to, it kept pushing me back in. So I would be lying if I said that I never thought about giving up or even attempted to give up. It's just like what Trevor said. There's this drive and this belief in yourself that then I guess amounts to you keep pushing forward, and then you just have to buy into that and realize that it isn't an option because it's not being provided. So
fair enough. Now let me see. Actually, let me ask that. Let me jump to Cheryl on this one because you started a business from the scratch. Did you ever have a point when you wanted to give up? And what caused?
Not at all. I didn't have any choice.
Okay.
As Mr. Massey said, I agree with him totally. You know, first of all, you have to be clear on your values.
Mm,
Right. So, and then you set out for your mission. So, you know what I mean? I didn't have any choice. I came to this country. I have no family. I have no papers. I was illegal immigrant, you know, so I have no choice. I just had to weather the storm and stay the course. So I have absolutely no choice. And I was a single mom. So I had to put my son through school. And the more barriers I face, the more energy I get. You know what I mean? The more you get more strength to go on.
okay, okay.
You know, and didn't have a choice.
Fair enough. Tanya, let me ask you, over to you then. Just talk to me about what are some of the hurdles as you began to climb the ladder of success for yourself? What were some of the hurdles that you had to overcome to achieve your success?
I think like everybody else, you know, it's just part of the journey. I personally experienced quite a bit of racism unexpectedly in one of my positions and hadn't experienced it before, but quite a bit of racism and microaggressions that, you know, you sort of heard about other people experiencing this sort of thing and never really experienced it in an overt way myself. And I think when I spoke up in my workplace and found my own voice rather than just sort of pretending it didn't happen, it was to my own detriment, unfortunately. And, you know, you sort of feel defeated, but you cannot. I sort of realized, you know, my father was a World War II veteran. He would turn over in his grave if I was to quit and you know, let the situation and others bad behavior defeat me. So, you know, I sort of leaned into my community and those who support me and know the struggle that you know, racialized members of the community experience in the workplace. And I leaned into that and, you know, realized that lick your wounds and go somewhere else where you're going to be valued. That it's actually a gift when people reveal how they are, because it's not for you. So I think even though there was times when I thought that and I felt disheartened by certain inequities, you know, realizing that, you know, these are struggles that many people face and they do overcome these struggles. So that to me, channeling my father who had passed and knowing that he faced tons of adversities, I can't give up. And so, yeah, you just go somewhere else and be great somewhere else.
Okay. So, Mr. Massey, did you ever have, in the 30 years at Centennial and so forth, did you find did you have challenges, whether either racial or in breaking down barriers? Did you find anything like that?
Of course, I think we all would have at some point in life encountered these in the workplace and in the society as a whole. It's hard not to. And sometimes the individuals who may say they have never experienced that, perhaps it's perhaps they're unaware. But each of us has our own sensitivity meter. We walk into a room, we can sense things. We're very sensitive. You know, it's like things on your skin where your hair stands up. We do have sensitivities to these matters. And in the workplace, you're going to encounter subtleties. You're going to encounter overt racism as well. But on the whole, here's what. For me, I was very lucky in the sense that I was motivated to be the best and to demonstrate that I was the best. And very early on, I had certain key guides to take me through. For instance, one key thing I was told by an uncle who had a great experience working at York University, he advised, if ever you get a memo which seeks to diminish you, respond right away, put on record that. And so as a young man in my early 20s, coming from Jamaica, the one thing I could do is write. And communications was really quite a very powerful tool. And so the first time I encountered something that was intended to set me on my heels, I responded with a very, very subtle email. And I discovered that communication could be a very good weapon. You could literally injure someone. You could see them bleeding. The fact is they would never see the weapon. It was words. And the words would endure because now they're on record. I found that very powerful. In fact, I'll tell you, pretty soon in the workplace, I got no more emails of that kind because everyone knew it was coming. I learned very early in my career that if you're thrown a pebble, sometimes you throw a boulder back. Yes, it's very important. And eventually you'll find that if you take risk in the workplace and you survive those risks, you acquire more power to do things and more space to do things. And yes, the subtleties are when you are expected to, as a Black person, to
Mhm.
conform to the team that is of a different race that defines what's supposed to happen, and you being contrary. Because remember, the purpose that you're there is not just to simply say I, but to bring the value of your perspective and your opinion and your other worth. And so when you go into a meeting, you can't always be saying I, and you have to be willing to be different and to bring your particular perspective. And invariably, that can put you on the other field. So you have choices to make in the workplace, either to lose your voice because you want to conform and be part of the team, or to stand up and to be able to find your voice, find who you are, define yourself, make it be understood that as a Black person, you're not cowering in the shades and you're not really wanting to lose yourself because you're there. And that so often is what the workplace demands of us.
Mhm.
For survival, many people are challenged to lose themselves,
Mhm.
not to be able to have their voice. They have to be part of the team, as in, why? Why can't you agree with us? What's wrong? So yes, we'll always encounter racism. I could give you stories of that, but in the long run, if you persevere, you'll have the power. So racism doesn't show up in your office door because
Shot,
now you can bring consequences. And in the long run, consequences really is what matters in terms of putting an end to some of that stuff.
shots have been fired. Man is down. Those are some hot words. Absolutely so. I'm saying this because you know what? Oftentimes you see a lot of people in our community are hit with different obstacles, and so some think it's over for them. They're capped in. But I want to show. I'm trying to show that you guys are all leaders in your respective industry and you've gone through the same thing. So if you can make it, they can make it. Lyric, you're now in the industry where you're continually under fire, continually got to be proven. Talk about some of your experiences.
It's refreshing to be on a panel with great wisdom. Thank you, Trevor. You've said things very eloquently that explains everything about the industry that I'm in, and everything about the industry is about conforming, wanting you to conform. It's all about control and manipulation, getting you to twist and turn in the directions that they want you. And because so many people, and I'm only going to speak from what I know and seen from experience, but a lot of people, um, they get into the business not knowing what their purpose in the business is. They come in with superficial ideas of what they want from it, and that superficial aspect is what makes them become a puppet in the game. So there's a great strength in knowing who you are in the business, saying no in the business, not just for the sake of saying no, but because it doesn't resonate with who you are. And once you are able to figure that out for yourself, as I've luckily figured out very, very early on for myself, then things will start to manifest. And you may not even know that it's manifesting until you look back or someone mentions it to you and you realize that your ideas of success or where you set your bar is for you. That's your personal journey, and that's what life is. For everybody else, it's the enjoyment of the work that you do. And they'll tell you that you're successful, but that may not be your idea of success. My idea of success is doing the kind of work that I want to do that's meaningful to not only me, but people who are making it for, so that they can look within themselves and see their strength and understand who they are and not let society twist and turn them because they feel like they have no option, or that if they don't do it's absolute failure. And if that's what it is, fail from it, learn from it, and then move on. Like Tanya said, move somewhere else, keep it moving. And if you can take all of what we're saying and make it all make sense, because what we say may not make sense entirely, but take bits and pieces, create your own mold, and make that your vessel and work with it. And as you continue, you'll continue to apply. It's a living thing. It's always building. It's always changing and morphing into something else, much like life. So it's a crazy industry that I'm in, and the more you know yourself is the better if you want to enter this business.
Phenomenal. Cheryl, talk to me about you've heard Trevor, you heard Tanya, you heard even Lyric talk about some of how the industry tries to conform, change, contain. What have you done, or what's been your experience to overcome? What's been your drive to push you through?
Well, I always maintain my mission focus, and I focus on what I could control immediately. So as they said, if it doesn't work, you move on to somewhere else. So if I go to one company and I see I'm having channels, getting in or for them to, for me to put me on their roster to provide services for them, I just don't waste time. I just keep it moving. Life is forever changes. You have to be able to work with the change. So I always focus more on what I could and in my immediate control, what I could control immediately. I always position myself to window because as a black person, as a black woman, you have to come 20 times better than the other white companies. So I have to hire the best. I have to pay more money for all my professional providers, and that's how the game is. You got to just have all the best people on my team. I surround myself and build my company with the best team, the best orthopedic surgeon, the best neurologist, the best occupational therapist, just the best, and I have to pay for it. Which when other company could pay an orthopedic surgeon 200,000 a year just to show up for or to consult for a few hours, I gotta pay 250, 300 to the same orthopedic surgeon, but I have to pay them double.
Well, you know what the reality is, I think you've got down to it that it's a system, recognizes a system out there and how to work within that system. So let's
Yes.
transfer. We've talked about historically what's held us down. Now that's enough. Now let's talk about our success.
Yeah.
Help us to understand, what do you believe is the biggest contributor to your success? Trevor, you talked about earlier on having an uncle at a York University. That gave you some insight. Was it insight? Was it positioning? Was it timing? Was it education? What was the biggest driver of your success?
Well, many things, not just one thing. I grew up in Jamaica and came here at age 20. So my formative years were in Jamaica. I went to a high school in Jamaica. And I'll tell you that that high school experience was exceptional in really helping to shape me and to give me confidence. So I arrived here very confident. And I didn't go to a school as many kids here where there's a dominant other race. In Jamaica, we were the dominant group at school, at least in my time. 100 years before, no, not so. So my school experience, that was exceptional in making me feel that I was capable, I was worthy. I came here very confident in the education I had. And everything about my experience at university suggested that that was a reasonable thing. However, there were people in my life, my uncle, who mentored me when I arrived here. And with him being a professor at York, I was able to sit in discussions with others like Dr. George Eaton, who passed away a couple of years ago, a number of others. And for a young man, sit and listen to these guys talk, fabulous, you learn. And so this is one of the things I think contributed to me, the idea of my being able to learn from these folks. In those days, they would have been seen as elders. And I think we today have that obligation to mentor young people when we're having discussions, to bring them into the room, to listen in, to share in, because that's how they learn and that's how they connect. But more to the point, one of the things I will say contributed to my success is my early understanding of leadership and what it meant and how I would go about learning to acquire leadership skills and to practice leadership skills. And when I talk about leadership, I really want to break it down into or disaggregate it into its components, which are the soft skills of leadership, such as the communications, the resilience, the decision making. And one of the things that we need in the workplace, political management skills. My uncle taught me that. Political management skills is critical, and our young people do not have those skills. You'll see very bright young Black individuals leaving university with a graduate degree, going into the workplace, and in 6 months they're toast. Getting stuff done was important. Intellectual curiosity for me was huge. Wanted to know things, to know more, to join this, to read about something. And here's the last one I'll add. There are many others, but here's one that I think we need in the Black community to fully understand its power: networking. You want to be successful, start learning how to connect with people and to network, because that is essential within ourselves and with others. Okay, I'll keep it at that for now.
Wow. Those are actually some very good ones. The political acumen and the network, I think, are really critical pieces. Tanya, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I think for me, probably I would pick up on what Trevor said in terms of, that piece of volunteering and community involvement. For me, that's been a big piece, that whole networking piece, because I found that you can sometimes feel a little on your own, depending on what field you're in or the type of work that you do. And when you sort of give of yourself in a different way, if you get involved with committees, if you do volunteer work for not-for-profit organizations, all of those things actually do help to expand your network as well as your contribution. So I think that would be a piece that I would sort of tie into. And then another piece I think is having a little bit of courage, and being brave, because some of the things that we may encounter, or even some of the opportunities in front of us, we may be thinking to ourselves, oh, I don't know if I can do that. But maybe we just got to shift that to be a bit more optimistic and say, well, I don't know, but I'm going to learn. And I find those are things that have sort of helped me along the way, even if something felt a bit daunting at the time. Just sort of shifting my thinking from sort of a negative stance of why I can't do something to sort of think about, well, maybe I can. Let me look into this. Maybe I need to call a friend and sort of see if I can sort of bolster my resilience to achieve that thing that seems insurmountable at the time.
Very nice. So you both mentioned something right now is leaning on others to overcome, or getting feedback from others to overcome. There's a comment in the chat there, and it was actually true. There is a certain perception that was made. So there was a lot of kids that was coming back from school in Jamaica or in other countries, Caribbean countries, and they were actually put back. And so they feel also like second class. How have you guys put that aside? Because for many have gone down your same path and hasn't reached the success that you guys have had. Lyric, what have you done differently to distinguish yourself?
I left Jamaica when I was 5, and I consider that my formative years, because that is the foundation in which I built everything on up until this point. And I refuse to let go of that in which I know of my culture. When I got to Canada, it was a total culture shock, and I was in a place where everything was foreign. So the education that I came to Canada with was no longer something I could rely on, because now there was this new world that I was ready to explore, and it was like a light bulb. And you turn on the switch and it's just so overwhelmed that the filament burns out. That's how I felt, like a burnt out light. And I was just so overwhelmed by everything at that age, and not having, the nurturing, of the parents to kind of explain everything to me, because they're busy trying to keep food on the table and a roof over their head. So the education system was something that I learned as I went along. And just in being overwhelmed by the culture set me back. No one needed to set me back in terms of grades, because I was already being set back by the culture shock of it all. And everything was a learning process, because I lived in the country in Jamaica. So a lot of things were foreign to me at that age, from running water to turning on the light in the room and it lights up. Candles and kerosene lamps. So everything was an absolute, overwhelming experience for me. And that made me a late bloomer. And so at age 16, when things are natural for kids, I'm just finding out for the first time what certain electronics are and how they work and operate. And that could make you feel inadequate. But because I'm an adventurer, I like to explore what I don't know, it's led me to where I'm at now. So there are pros and cons to the education system, and I don't really think it applies to me like it would Trevor, simply because I was so much younger, and without knowing it, I made the decision to explore as opposed to learn an education system, if you will. So I'm very happy with where I'm at in life, and that that culture setback was written when I was 5, and I didn't realize it, and it's led me to where I'm at now. And I thank God for my experiences. I understand my journey to where I'm at now and why it happened, because it's very vivid for me. But for those who want the educational system and come, and comes to America, North America, and get that setback, I can understand how they can feel like second class citizens. But you gotta just know that it's an ego system. It's an ego situation, not a lack of you not having the education. It's one country having a certain ego, and people like Trevor and all of us on this panel need to mentor our people when they come to this country and let them know that they are more than what they're being given credit for from the system.
Yes.
That's where I think it needs to come from, because if we don't do that, they become slow developers, slow learners, because they're learning as they go along.
Phenomenal. Cheryl, Lyric just mentioned a second ago that he was driven to explore. What was the driver to drive you to explore business? Your background is that you went to school for nursing, but what drove you to make that transformation? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. There you go.
Well, for me, I always like the finer things in life. So I didn't want to remain an employee, and I don't like people giving me orders. Plus, I have my whole family back home that I have to take care of, and the money I was making wasn't sufficient. When you come here, you got to send money back home. People don't understand if you don't, but a lot of people don't. But, I have other family members that I have to help. When I leave Jamaica, my son was 5 or 4. So I have to, send money back home every month. I have to help other family member, and I continue to do that even now. So the money I was making as an employee wasn't enough. And as I said, I wasn't gonna sit there and take orders from people. So I see an opportunity where I was working, doing community nursing, and working in different insurance medical, doing insurance medical, medicals, and I see a niche when I could, undercut my employer, and go directly, because I was subbing, and go directly to these people. So I did so. And then I went to the US as well, and I opened a company in the US. I operated in 35 states there until the recession hit in 2008, 2009. I came back to Canada, which I would still have my business here, but I wasn't really focused here. It's very hard to focus to different places. And I dropped the one in the US after the recession hit, because nobody buy life insurance when there's a recession. So I came back here and just focused on disability management and wellness.
Okay.
Which is mostly, I work mostly 90% of my business comes from personal injury lawyers, people in motor vehicle accident. Yeah.
Okay. So
I want a lifestyle, I want to travel. I want to explore. I want to shop. I want to drive the nice car. I want the house, and I got it.
And listen, we love to hear it. Actually, we love to hear.
For me, I think poverty is a mental disease.
Mercy, mental disease. Okay.
Yeah.
So for you, it was acquisition was your driver.
That's right.
Tanya, talk to me about you. What was your driver? What said, okay, no, I want to do different. I want, she doesn't want to be an employee. What was your driver that motivated you, or your pivotal moment?
I think I had a pivotal moment actually just last July, when I founded Black Human Resources Professionals of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And this was really just a labor of love, sort of a weekend idea, a weekend project, where I sort of felt that very often in my profession, I was the only one in the room, so often. And I thought, why am I always complaining about being the only one in the room? Why don't I change that? And so in June, I thought, yeah, I'm going to do something about that. And so in July, I had formed this group called the Black HR Professionals of Canada. And you sort of have an idea on something and you don't really know if it's going to take off. And so I had sort of arranged for a Zoom call to talk about self-care for Black HR professionals. And to be honest, I just put it on my LinkedIn, and I expected maybe 15 to 20 people to come, because that's probably how many people I knew who were Black human resources professionals. So let me tell you, Anton, I was on the Zoom call, and the little boxes that we're all looking at right now.
Yeah.
So I saw, the time came and I saw the little boxes pop up, and I'm like, okay, there's 15 people. This is great. This is excellent. There's 15 Black HR professionals here. Well, let me tell you, they kept joining the call, and I ended up with 100 Black HR professionals on this little Zoom call to talk about self-care in the HR profession. And it was such a, you have those moments where you don't know if you want to cry, or you're just so pleased to see faces staring back at you who look like you, who understand your struggle and your journey, and the power of community. So that was an experience for me that was a pivotal moment that reminded me how important it is to network, how important it is to come together, how inspiring it is to hear other people's journeys. So that for me was very, very special. And I think we all have had moments like that where we're just sort of taken aback and inspired.
Perfect. Mr. Trevor, so for 30 years, you were in this school, and you end off as a registrar for Centennial, but then you decide to pivot. What caused you to make that transition? Why?
Well, retirement. Retirement is it. And there are other things in life, such as the death of a child, the brain surgery of another,
Mercy,
the death of your executive assistant, tragically, on a motorcycle accident. And what that does, it starts something new in your life. That is, what's the meaning of life? What's important? And remember, as Black folk in a senior position, you're driven because you want to be the best, and you put a lot of time to that, and sometimes you forsake other things. When those things happen in your life, you're forced to deal with different things, renewed values in terms of family and the things that may otherwise be important. So that's one thing. And then when you retire, you come to the view that says, you can go to a beach in Jamaica and sit and relax and drink those multicolored drinks and be good. Or you can use your experience, your expertise, your network, and your treasure to help young people. Because if we're not going to help them, who will? And so I got involved with an organization called the Lifelong Leadership Institute that provides leadership development for youth through a program called Leadership by Design. And the reason why we use leadership is leadership skills, as I described earlier on, is really a big tent set of skills. If you've got those skills pinned down, and all the things we've been talking about comes under that leadership skill, it serves us as an entrepreneur. Very same thing serves as an entrepreneur. Every time you go for a job interview, those are the things the employer want to talk about. And so when we can infuse in our students all these values and all these skills, and then provide them with opportunities to practice them, that matters. So I now do that, and it's a very motivating thing. helping young people, and we all have some role to play in that, helping young people to grow in the way we've been helped to grow, because we've been helped.
Mhm.
We're not self-made. If we can help Black youth, then we're making a major contribution to the growth and the wellness and well-being of the community as a whole. So that for me is very important. But the transition from work, if you're at work, and most of you will appreciate this, we all want to be the best. And you know the code behind that. We want to be the very best. And that means we're going to work ourselves into the ground. We're satisfied. I'm delighted to really find success and to take risk and do well at work. But at some point when you face personal tragedies, you start thinking anew.
Well, you know, that's absolutely fair. My grandma used to say, when trouble hits you, pick the shirt fit you. You find a way when the troubles come to it makes you just and real look. So let me ask you this. Lyric talked about this. If you were to, you see yourself now, you've reached a level of success. I'm sure you have many things going. We'll go into that later on. But if you were to go back 20 years with the knowledge you have now, what would you do differently? Or what would you do differently? Or would you do anything differently?
I wouldn't do anything differently. I would just do it with more intensity.
Intensity, okay.
I would do it with more intensity because 20 years ago, again, I'm learning as I go along. So I'm not 100% sure that this is what I'm supposed to do. It feels right. This is what's permeating through my pores. So just intensity, because I know what I know now, that I did it right the first time. And I'm going to continue to do it the right way, and the right way is my way. It may not be right for somebody else. I don't project that on anybody else. I try not to anyway. But if asked, then I'll share my story. That works for me. But I've been following my instincts. I've been guided by something, and it wasn't always popular. It still isn't popular, but it was always the right thing. And I knew that because of the way it made me feel. It made the way because of the way my family felt about me, and and at the end of the day, that's what's important to me. So when we talk about motivation, when we talk about what keeps the fire burning, it's the simpler things in life. I'm in a very extraordinary in business or in industry, and you can't get caught up with that. And you got to know what your purpose in it is, and I think I found it. So I wouldn't change anything. I would just increase the intensity, and that's what I'm doing at this time. Is knowing that things are going in the right direction for me, and I'm turning up the volume, and cranking that knob to maximum.
Okay. Tanya, over to you. What would you, if you can go with the knowledge you have right now, if you'd go back 20 years, would you be in the same place? What would you do differently? And because I like what Trevor actually referenced to, how, well, I'll be the follow-up question. I will talk about your mentorship side, but what would you do differently if you go back 20 years?
I'm kind of with Lyric. I don't really think I would necessarily do anything differently. I would agree that I would probably do things with more intent. Because I think 20 years, when you go back, like, you don't really know what you're doing or why you're doing it. So you're just following a path. But I think following it with more purpose and more intent probably would be a difference. I also think, looking on it now, sort of realizing, I wish I knew that organizations like BBPA existed, and I wish I had more of an understanding of how you can tap into expertise with the community more. I think probably 20 years ago, I was a little bit siloed, just kind of looking within my own bubble, not realizing that, there's others that you can share your journey with. So I think maybe just more intent and perhaps a little bit more working with others rather than sort of feeling you have to sort of soldier on your own.
Perfect. Cheryl, talking over to you now. You were to go back now, or let's just say differently. Let's slightly change it up because I really want to transition to the next phase is based upon the experience now, how do you transition that information on to the next generation? How do you help people so you're not the exception? So in 20 years, 30 years, that there's a whole heap of just like you.
Well, first of all, I would, right now in my business, I employ a lot of people like myself, and I'm trying to grow them up and train them to be entrepreneur. I tell everyone that come to my company, I'm not looking for an employee. Right, so right now I have my personal assistant is Jamaican. I have my director of case management also, Black. He was born here but half Jamaican. So, I always tell them I'm not looking for an employee. So they have profit sharing in the end, and we're planning to expand our company right now and across Canada. So, and we're looking to hire and train more young people.
Perfect.
So we have our 5-year plan and our 10-year plan, how we're going to roll out other division across Canada.
I love to hear that because part of the difference is not just our individual success, but how do we make success for the second and third generation. Trevor, I know you're working on a program right now you alluded to earlier on. Talk to us a little bit more that specifically about the mentorship program, because there's those that are asking about mentorship, your mentorship program. Talk to us a bit about that. Uh-oh, did we lose you? As we've lost him for a quick second.
I'm back, but I did not hear the question. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Cheryl was referencing, and you referenced it earlier on as well, as what do we do for the next generation? As part of your pivot, you had reassessed your life and decided, you know what? I want to have more meaningful, not only for myself, but next generation coming forward. Talk to us specifically. I know you referenced your program that you're actually doing, how that's making a difference, and what specifically is helping, who it's helping. Tell us a bit about your program.
Thank you. The program that we're talking about is the Leadership by Design program,
correct,
which selects promising young Black youth, high school students, starting with grade 10 from across the GTA. So last fall, we'd have accepted 70 students, and we'd have students in the previous years. So we have over 200 students on the program right now in high school and in university. And it's a leadership development program, but it also includes career development as well. And the idea here is there's a lot that they're learning in high school, but for success in life and in our profession, there's a whole lot of other ingredients that must go in. And we need to be able to help our students to develop and to acquire these other ingredients. And I mentioned some of the leadership soft skills that are so important, but let me give you one example. When we go to work in other spaces, when we apply for university, invariably we have to go through admission requirements, or we have to do employment processes, which really sometimes are rigged against Black folk. Not in a conscious way, but they are rigged because they were never developed for us. They're developed for individuals who can readily meet those standards, those guidelines, those idiosyncratic stuff, and our students can't. And so providing our students with the ability to enter these spaces and to be confident and to be understanding of these spaces, to really wherever they put their feet, they belong there. They don't tiptoe. We want to have Black kids who don't tiptoe around the space. We want to have Black kids who understand that they have the power to do things, and if they can strive towards that. And essentially, we need them to understand that doors don't just open automatically for you. You got to sometimes force it open. You have to prepare yourself for it. And so that is what we're doing with our young people. We're providing them with all the opportunities to compete in our society and to feel important and confident in themselves. So that's the short form. But I also want to tell you, one of the things we want our kids to learn too is that they have a lot of power. And we just saw in the United States election in the state of Georgia, what happens when Black folk realize their power, as in they're going to mobilize and vote. And the same thing can happen here if we understand that, and we have to start grooming our kids to understand it. Because in the city of Toronto today, 8% of the population self-identify as Black. And that's a lot of power if you think about it, but it's not mobilized in the way we would wish. So there are a lot of things we can do. And certainly one of the important things we do for our kids is provide mentoring. And I'm looking at all these wonderful Black folk on the screen here, and I'm figuring, geez, Cheryl talking about her experience as an entrepreneur, Lyric in terms of his navigation through the field of the arts and culture and the theater world, and Tanya in the HR with all her know-how. These are things that our kids would really benefit from. And so we try to marshal that kind of know-how and present them to our students so our students can learn from them. That's a short form response.
Perfect. Tanya, so you referenced, you started your group for HR professionals across Canada. What or how do you plan to impact the next generation? Do you have a plan for it?
Yeah, I think really we're looking at the mentorship piece. So one of the things that we're going to be looking at doing this year is learning best practices from or partnering with places that do mentorship. Perhaps Trevor, you and I should have a conversation. But yeah, that's really the mentorship piece, because we are finding that individuals who are new in their professions, they do benefit from having somebody that can kind of guide them and steer them, or even connect them within the industry. So that's really the piece that we're wanting to introduce this year.
Perfect. Lyric, what advice would you give to someone that was trying to follow your footsteps?
The advice that I would give, I would probably tell them not to even try and mess with the industry, because I would first have to know who the person is and find out if they know who they are. Because when you're in this space, what you're doing is you're offering yourself. If you don't know who you are, you cannot offer anything unique about you. You're just being a puppet, and it will burn you out. I don't want to put someone on that path knowing what the business is set up to do. So I want to know what a person's being is all about, and see if they know what that is and what they offer life, humanity. What we do lives forever. Put it on screen, it lives forever. So it's constantly impacting the next generation. So you want to make sure that what you put on the screen is honest and it's true. And when it is, it resonates with the spirit of the vibe. So for me, I'm very particular, very, very particular about who I speak to about the business in terms of getting involved, and making sure that when I do speak to someone, that I'm also there to continue to support. Because that's the biggest problems that I fall into, or I see in my business, is when you have organizations call you to speak to a room full of kids. And my thing is, I know what it takes. And for me to go speak to a room full of kids, the impact isn't that conversation. The impact is a consistency thereafter. And knowing that the support is going to be there, because you're just throwing the kid to the wolves when you motivate them and hype them to get into the business, and then they're in it. And you're not there to say, don't do that, or this is what this is. It might look like this, but it's an illusion with the intent to trick and manipulate. So don't do that. Mm-hmm. And I had to learn the long way, not necessarily the hard way, but the long way, because of the consistency of the industry doing these things. So speaking to someone and understanding who that individual is and getting them to understand themselves, once I can do that, then they can surpass me within months as opposed to years in this business, because it's very, very quick. This business, you could become a star or overnight success within a year. It could take you 10 years. This business, it's very very complex. That's what I would do in terms of talking to young people in general, is just to get to know who they are and teach them about themselves as quickly as possible.
Perfect. Cheryl, so Lyric just referenced there that there is ways that if he was to reach back, he could help someone, leapfrog the time zone that might take someone else. You referenced earlier on that you want entrepreneurs as part of your surrounding. What advice would you give to an emerging entrepreneur trying to follow your footsteps?
Well, I'm agreeing with Lyrics. It's the same thing. You have to have the tenacity, and as he said, you would have to meet with the person and see if they really have that kind of tenacity, because it's not easy. It's not an easy journey. It's really not an easy journey. Like, take for instance my son. I have one child, and he works with me. We run the business together, but he doesn't have my tenacity. He have a very different personality. He could never bring one client to the company. You know what I mean? So everybody have their purpose. Like, he's a processor. He's not a marketer. He's not one you're gonna see. He's gonna take out a client and have dinner and drinks and sit at the bar and talk to them. He's not going to any networking events. He's just not that person. But he's a great dad. He run the company from behind the scene. So it's like, it's, if anything should happen to me, I know he would never be able to run the business. So it's because he cannot bring the business in. First, you got to bring the business in order to, do all the stuff from behind the scenes. So you got to meet people, and I think everybody should, as I said, you got to know what you could withstand. You got to see their value and, their personality. It's running a business. You have to be everything.
Right.
Like, you have to come with the personality. I have to be able to join all the social clubs. I position myself all the time. The first thing I did was to join the social club in Adelaide, even when I don't have any money. I have to find it, and I have to, live without certain things, drink cornmeal porridge, do all these things and put myself out there with the best clothes, the best shoes in this social club to get the attention of these people to give me business. You gotta position yourself all the time, and it's very difficult. It's not everybody could do it.
Fair.
It's, as Lyric said, it's hard, and I would encourage everybody to be an entrepreneur. It's not an easy thing, because you got to pay everybody else before you get paid, and it's hard. It's very hard to keep a very robust balance sheet.
It's very true. Very true.
And don't knock the caramel porridge. The caramel porridge is proper still.
That's right.
Love a porridge still. Love a porridge. We only have a few minutes left, so let me ask you, as we only have a couple minutes left, what's next for each one of you? Because right now you've been a success. What's next? Trevor, I'll go over to you first. What's next? I think we lost him. Oh, there he is.
Actually, I'm going to ask you, sorry, to repeat the question. When I went offline like that, it was because I was having internet instability issues.
Oh, no worries.
That's the question, isn't that terrible?
Yeah, we have only a few minutes left. So the last question is, what's next for you?
At my age, what a dangerous question. What next?
Spring chicken.
What next is to continue to do the things that seem to be working in our lives. But at the age I am, there's not a whole lot that I want in terms of material goods. I just don't need a whole lot of stuff. What I think is next for me is to continue to be able to work with young people and to impart some of what I know and to share and to mentor. And to try and provide greater opportunities through our program Leadership by Design. But essentially, that is it. At my age, I can only offer support and experience and some expertise in mentoring. That's it.
That's perfect. Tanya, how about you?
I think I just want to continue to be a connector. Really, being brave, being a connector, seeing what else I can do, how else I can contribute. I think I just want to do more, but bigger.
Perfect. Cheryl, I'm leaving Lyric for last, but deliberately. Cheryl, what's for you? What's next for you?
Well, for me, I think the sky's the limit. So as soon I invest in a lot of things and I just keep going. It's wherever I see an opportunity, I take advantage of it.
Perfect.
You know, I have a couple companies, and wherever I see an opportunity, I have an investment company. I have, you know, where I invest, you know, so I not only the healthcare company, but I also start an investment company that's really going well. So,
And
you know, Tanya and Trevor, I would really like to connect with you guys, especially on the mentorship part, because, you know, when I hire young people, it's very, very hard. You have to teach them how to dress. They come in late. They don't have no respect for time. It's very, very difficult to hire, especially where we're old.
I'm going to stop real quick here because we only have like 2 minutes left. We'll definitely connect you two after.
Yes, please.
I want to do the last thing on Lyric because I know Lyric is coming out with 2 new shows this year. What's next for you, Lyric? What above that? What's next for you?
Right now, we're just doing some marketing. I just finished a couple of shows, like you said, one for Oprah's network called OWN, and that show's called Delilah. We're actually actively doing the promos now. I just got a bunch of things that I have to post on my social media today, talking about that show. And another show on HBO Max called Verbatim, based on the university scandal that happened here last year with Lori Loughlin and her rich friends, and basically buying spots for their children while other children work very hard to don't get a spot. So those 2 things I'm doing the marketing on right now, and it'll be out for you all to enjoy soon. So you can check out my social media at Lyric Bent, and you'll see all the advertisements there. And I'm also launching a platform. It's called Mogul Productions.
Oh, no. Whoa. Slow down. Take time. It's called what?
Mogul Productions.
Spell no. You know, we
MOGUL Productions with an S.com.
Okay.
And basically what that is, it's a community kind of like this, where you join the forum, you get to interact with producers, actors, writers. You can submit your writing. If you're a writer, you can get your films funded. You can get all kinds of things. It's a film community. It's a community based. It doesn't succeed unless the community succeeds, and it's also profit sharing with the community. It's a bunch of things. You just have to jump on and you know, Cheryl, you like to invest. It's a place where you can invest in as well. It's all of the above. So check it out.
Love to hear it. Tanya, your contact information. What if someone wants to follow up with you? They're an HR professional and wants to be part of your organization. How do they get in contact?
Yeah, the easiest thing is to look for me on LinkedIn. Black Human Resources, Black HR Professionals of Canada is on LinkedIn.
Not so quick. It's called what?
Black HR Professionals. Of Canada. We don't have a website yet. We're just grassroots, but we are on LinkedIn. But easier too is just to connect directly with me on LinkedIn. Perfect. Tanya Sinclair.
Tanya Sinclair, perfect. Cheryl, what's your contact information? People want to find more about you.
Okay, it's just ckerr@medex. It's a very long email address. ckerr@medexhealthservices.com.
Now, for the illiterates in the crowd, spell it out for me, please.
So CKERR @MEDEX Health HEALTH Services SERVICES.com.
And last to you, Mr. Trevor Massey.
Well, first of all, Anshon, if you can at the end of this send the emails of all these wonderful people, I'd love that. I'm just going to give my email, which is trevor.massey at llileaders.com, and I'm going to key it in the chat room.
Perfect.
Trevor.massey at llileaders.com.
Perfect. Everybody, I thank all my panelists. I thank you so much. You've definitely shared a wealth of information. We could have kept going for another hour, even 2 hours, based upon what you're sharing, but we're running out of time right now. So I must thank you for coming through. We will have to bring you guys back again because I think there is a lot to be gleaned from those falling behind. But for those in the audience today, I want to make a few announcements before you leave today. Next Tuesday, we have we have another session of the Level Up Masterclass program. This one will be focused on getting capital in 2021. What are your options? That'll be next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Followed by, in the Tuesday evening, will be the Boss Woman program put on at 6 o'clock. And followed next Wednesday again will be the next Ask Your Professional series as part of Black History Month. Don't forget, we're also having every Saturday, we have the community space between 10 a.m. and 11:30, teaching the Black youth and adults on financial literacy. And then lastly, coming up this April, we have the Harry Jerome Awards Gala. Please go on and make your submissions for individuals such as these that are earmarked and leaders in our society and our community. Everybody, I thank you so much for coming out today. I'm sorry for taking a little bit further. We couldn't get to all the questions and comments, but we appreciate you coming out. We look forward to seeing you next week. So for all the support, be safe, be strong, and keep pushing through. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Can some of the panelists stay
Bye.
if some of the panelists stay behind and just say a quick hello?
Yes. Cheryl, Lyric, Tanya, Trevor, you guys were phenomenal. You guys were definitely phenomenal. I appreciate you guys. You guys brought different perspectives. And the thing I really liked about it, it was really a good mix. We have academia, we have corporate, we have entertainment, and we have business. And each one of them was able to appeal on different perspectives. Yet there was a commonality. So I thank you guys for it, man. I really thank you guys. I think it was a good mix of not only educational or necessary, backgrounds, but also personalities to engage. So you guys were phenomenal.
Thank you very much. Now, for Lyric, by the way, just before you all go, Lyric, the movie that you've got, which is to do with the scandal with the educational system,